Hello Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 26 of Journey into Legends. Today we are going to be talking about one of the most notorious Star Wars books of all time, Children of the Jedi. Children of the Jedi is the first book in the unofficial Callista trilogy. It was written by Barbara Hamley and it was released in 1995. I'm not particularly excited to jump into this book given its reputation and the few things I've heard about it, but after reading and actually enjoying The Crystal Star, I'm open to being proven wrong. So without further ado, let's read and review. So let's start with the positives, which are quite few and far between. The setup for this book is actually quite interesting. An Imperial battle moon called the Eye of Palpatine, whose mission to destroy a Jedi enclave on the planet Belsavis was thwarted 30 years ago, has been reactivated, and it's on its way to Belsavis to complete its mission. It's an interesting premise and sets up a potentially awesome storyline. I also really enjoyed the beginning of this book. On Ithor, Han and Leia are approached by an old smuggler friend of Han's named Drub McCum, who's gone basically insane. He warns Han about the titular children of the Jedi who are in danger hiding in a place called Plett's Well. This whole section of the book was super eerie, and it set the tone for what seemed like a darker and more disturbing plotline than most other books. Unfortunately, all of this was thrown out the window as the book went on, which is a perfect segue into the many, many things wrong with this book. As I said, this book had some great setup, but all of it led to an absolutely incoherent and boring mess of a book. Starting with Luke's story. Luke, as well as 3PO and two Jedi named Cray Mingla and Nikos Mar, follow a mysterious signal that leads them to the planet Sob. The story goes that a battle moon called the Eye of Palpatine was going to travel the galaxy to pick up legions of troopers before going to destroy the planet Belsavis. But before that could happen, a Jedi named Callista disabled the ship. After 30 years, the ship is mysteriously reactivated and resumes its mission. It travels to various planets, including Sob, to pick up stormtroopers, but after all these years, the troopers have either died or abandoned their post. So instead, the ship picks up a bunch of locals from the planet, including Tuskens, Jawas, Gamorreans, Talls, and more, and indoctrinates these aliens into becoming stormtroopers. This aspect was actually really fun and super unique. Along with these aliens, Luke, Cray, 3PO, Nikos, and an ex-stormtrooper they meet named Triv Pothman are picked up from Sob, and they spend the rest of the book on the Eye of Palpatine. This storyline was dreadfully boring and followed a beaten and battered Luke as he desperately tries to stay conscious long enough to not only save the aliens on board, but to stop the ship from destroying Belsavis. In the process, Luke falls in love with the Jedi Callista, who has been living in the ship's computer for 30 years. That's right, Luke falls in love with a computer. But it gets better. In the end, Luke's student Cray decides to sacrifice herself and give her body to Callista. That's right, Luke falls in love with a computer who then possesses the body of his dead student. It's absolutely ridiculous. Luckily, Han and Leia's story isn't as bad, but it is just as boring. After being warned about the children of the Jedi by Drub McCum, their investigation leads them to Belsavis, where they meet Ragonda Ismarin, a former concubine of the Emperor's. It turns out that Ragonda and her son Irek are the masterminds behind the reactivation of the Eye of Palpatine. Don't worry, this doesn't really lead to anything, as both of them escape and don't show up in hardly any other books. So not only is this plotline extremely boring, but it also has no closure. Fantastic. The final thing I wanted to talk about was the main theme of this book, which is the difference between sentience and artificial intelligence. This is an important discussion throughout the book, and is a theme that I think has the potential to be extremely meaningful, especially in a franchise like Star Wars, where droids are such a prominent element. Throughout the book, Luke's student Nikos is actually a droid replica of the real Nikos who died from a debilitating disease. The main antagonist, Irek Ismarin, has the ability to use the Force to control droids and machinery, which he uses to summon the Eye of Palpatine, to lock down the Belsavis ports, and even to turn R2-D2 against Han and Leia. And finally, the aliens picked up by the Eye of Palpatine are indoctrinated and lose their free will. So the theme is present in all corners of this book. The problem is that the author takes the completely wrong stance in the argument. Instead of accepting his identity as a droid, the fake Nikos decides that because he's a droid, his life doesn't matter, so he sacrifices himself. A great discussion absolutely wasted in the end. Overall, this book was such a slog to get through, as you can tell by how long it took me to make this video. Everything I enjoyed was wasted or abandoned by the end of the book, and the writing was so bad I had trouble understanding what was happening at multiple points in the book. I'm going to give this book a 30%. I think it's absolutely a waste of time, and I can only recommend this book to the people like me that want to read every piece of Legends media. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video where I'll be continuing this godforsaken trilogy with the second installment, Darksaber. See ya.